What up, perps? Kid Copious, back in effect. Purple State Party. You know what we're doing here. We're repping America, the center, common sense. Keep on popping in the free world. Amen, brothers. You know, this morning, getting ready for the show. Didn't really have an opening. And then, poof, inspiration struck. I thought about the fundamental way to break down how I feel about the two-party system. I hate the two-party system. But let me tell you something. When I thought about what it is that I don't like about the Republicans, I realized it was ideology. You know, good example. You know, homosexuality is only wrong if you believe the Bible that says it's a sin. If you don't believe in the Bible, then why is homosexuality bad? It's not. So therefore, you can't govern out of the Bible. But I could work around that if other things are going fine. We had 4 years of Trump, right? We didn't see abortion being banned then. We saw it now. Maybe that was the way it was set up. Whatever. But I'll trade that for some feeling of security, some more money in my pocket. Not feeling this doom and gloom that we're feeling right now. And let's be honest, folks, we're feeling doom and gloom. And the reason why is because my objection to the Democrats is functionality, not ideology. Their ideology is fucked up, but their functionality is way fucked up. They don't handle practical matters with common sense. They don't handle things with their brain. They handle it with their heart. They want things to be that way. And so they force that. And when it doesn't work, they turn around with lame excuses like white supremacy, capitalism. Really, because if our way of operating on common sense and capitalism is so bad, then why are so many fucking people trying to come here? And now for some mental irregularities. People in an uproar over the China spy balloon. You know, China is notorious for spying on everybody around the world, stealing all the good ideas. But you know, when it comes to blackmail and bribery and things like that, like kind of like what we're seeing with Hunter, you don't go to the person directly. You go through intermediaries. TikTok is one of those things where people reveal things about themselves, and all social media, to be fair. And you don't have to get to the daughter of a government official. You can get to the friend of a daughter. See how that works? You don't have to track your target. You could track people around the target. And that's the problem we're seeing. And we're not standing up to it. We're not pulling out of China like we should. Remember, made in Americas. Let's bring those jobs over to the Americas. How about that? But yeah, you can't worry about a government tracker in some vaccine when you're walking around with a cell phone. They're tracking you. They're spying on you. And TikTok, unfortunately, is directly linked to the Chinese government. That's the simple fact. It's not about shutting down what kids like to use. It's about shutting down a pipeline that China has into almost every single citizen. 0 students proficient in math in 23 Baltimore schools. This is what I'm talking about. Ideology over functionality. 93% of... What the heck? Which revealed that 93% of 3rd through 8th graders tested below their grade level in math. That's a lot. And that's not some sort of little. That's all of them. 2,000 students scored. None of them scored at grade level for math. None. Because we're removing everything that worked in some attempt to get some sort of equity, some sort of equality. We need to take a hard look at this kind of stuff. Migrants bused to Canada from New York City are turning back in frustration. There are way too many people coming over here. I no longer believe that it's some guy coming over here to pick cabbage and send money home to El Salvador. I think these are people now just taking advantage of the situation, coming over here, getting their foothold in, and they're going to work the system. And when they work the system, that money is coming out of our pockets. These people are complaining about the accommodations that they got. Imagine if you broke into somebody's house, you were arrested, put in jail, and then you complained about the jail cell. That's what we're seeing here. And I think it's because we're no longer just taking in the poor, huddled masses. We're taking in the middle class of some of these countries. They're coming over here. They've got designs on our social system. They're going to take advantage of it. A lot of people take advantage of socialist governments, and that's what brings them down quite often. That and greed. So let's talk about the State of the Union, a fucking clown show. I don't even bother watching it because I know it's all a bunch of lies. That's what they're going to do. They don't tell the truth. They don't give us the truth. They pretend that they have to protect us from the truth and only give us good news. But, again, a lot of people lap it up. This year's State of the Union was sponsored by Pfizer. Yeah, I think that could be an equal, word, escape. But anyhow, we'll just move on from that. But yeah, I don't want to get into the whole COVID argument at all. I don't, it is what it is. But it does seem a bit like the pharmaceutical companies really made out like bandits. Maybe they saved lives, maybe they didn't. I don't know. History will tell. There's a lot of just pure bullshit out there nowadays, so it's hard to really know what you can believe and what you shouldn't believe. Biden assures American public Ukraine has never been stronger. I don't even know why we're there. I mean, to be honest with you, philosophically, we have nothing to do with them. So I understand stopping Russian aggression. That's, I come from the 80s, so yeah, I know that. But is Russia the USSR? I don't think so anymore. I don't know. I think we've got a lot of problems on our plate right now that we didn't have a few years ago. In a shocking turn of events, Republicans think Biden did a terrible job. Democrats think it was the best speech ever. Yeah, and it's the flip-flop. We know this. I mean, that's why I started doing what I'm doing. Because I know the truth of this. I know that if it was Trump, the Republicans would cheer and the Democrats would boo. And that's the problem. That is the problem. This is no longer about governing. This is about ruling. This is about staying elected, keeping your cushy job with all of its fucking perks. As electric car sales surge, their benefits are increasingly criticized. This comes from the New York Post. I believe they're a little more left-leaning than anything. I really urge you to just read this article. It really lays out a lot of the problems with EVs, and we're just going to break them down a little bit here. So it's no coincidence that Tesla, America's most popular EV brand, was born in California. The roads are smooth, the weather is mild, and the people are rich. And this goes to, they see what they want to see. Oh, look, everybody that drives Teslas in California, they're posting about it on Instagram, and they love it. And it's all, this is going to be the grandiose saving of the planet. We're going to make all of our cars EV. Because everybody in California loves them. No rich people in California, where we have maybe the best climate for EVs. They love them. Rich people who could charge at their homes, they love them. Mm-hmm. But many Americans don't live in balmy Palo Alto. Many have to contend with very hot or cold weather. That dramatically reduces the range. Imagine that. You don't really know how far you're going to get. Rural roads where chargers may be scarce. And city residents living in apartments, where are they going to plug their cars in? And the government is just going to subsidize this. So they're going to kind of force it upon us by subsidies. And as we're seeing, some of these subsidies don't come true because then they put all these rules and regulations in place so that they don't have to spend the $7,500. But they're not admitting the problem. The problem is apparent. EVs don't work in certain circumstances. They're not going to be good in certain circumstances. So maybe trying to electrify every vehicle in the country isn't a practical idea. It appears affluent EV owners use their electric cars when it's convenient. There you go. There's, a University of Chicago researchers concluded electricity might not be as easily substituted for gas as previously thought. Again, they could pass a law and the rich people stay above it because they can afford to put chargers at their homes. If everybody had an EV charger at home, it would make a lot more sense. It's important to consider the environmental impact. So they say it's better for the environment, but is it? That's a lot of mineral right there. 25 pounds of lithium, 30 pounds of cobalt, 60 pounds of nickel, 90 pounds of copper. And this is mostly controlled through China. In Africa, they're ahead of this. This doesn't save the environment, this saves China. But their fake truth is, oh no, it's great for the environment. Well, I would say taking all that crap out of the ground and what that entails is not good for the environment. And when the heavier electrical vehicles start wearing down our roads and we have to put new roads in, well, hate to tell you this, but putting down the road is worse for the environment than the cars that drive on it. Most experts calculate that the lifetime emissions from an EV are still somewhat lower than that of a comparable ICE vehicle. But not everybody agrees. And that's one of the problems that we see already is that it's expensive to fix these things. So right now, a lot of EVs that are in accidents are being totaled. So their lifetime is pretty short. I've had a lot of different vehicles over my lifetime that have been in accidents, and they were put back together. And I kept driving them. When you run on some of the stuff that they use in electric vehicles, like the motors that are right there at the wheel, those are easily going to be destroyed. Boom, side impact, you could take out a couple motors. Probably not going to take out the motor of your average Toyota out there right now. So the lifetime, you might not see the benefits. All right. So the shortage of critical materials is one reason some automakers are skeptical about electric vehicle hype. EVs are just going to take longer to become mainstream than the media would like us to believe. This is the CEO of Toyota. Toyota. That's very coincidental for him. Unsurprisingly, his company is exploring hydrogen fuel cells and other low carbon technologies. Maybe we have more efficient gas engines. I don't know. But this is one of the problems we have. Cars right now run on oil, which we have a lot of, iron, plastics, things like that, things that we have lots of, and we already know how to build cheaply. We could build them better, sure, let's go for it. But EVs, we might not even have enough of the critical material to continue making EVs. Then what? Horses? If politicians are serious about reducing those emissions, they should focus on making the U.S. power grid cleaner. See, there you go. That's functionality over ideology. Let's build up the electrical manufacturing capabilities of America. But so far, that's not happening. Why? Because it's not practical. And because regulations are stopping the one thing that every EV needs, electricity. Activists have blocked nuclear power plants, which leads to not being able to power things with electricity. We don't want to rely on natural resources for our power supplies, like hydroelectric. We don't want to do that. We don't want to burn coal. We don't want to burn gas. Solar and wind, too many variables involved. Nuclear, it's the only way to go. If we're going to do this, we're going to do this. What? You can't have both. Governments generally aren't very good at picking the technologies of tomorrow. Yeah. And that's why one of the reasons we're not seeing free enterprise capitalism pushing ahead with this EV agenda is because people are losing it daily in the shorts over broken chargers, about cars getting welded to chargers. Yeah, that can happen. That's one of the things we're starting to see now. When you have a short with an electrical plug, for example, it welds itself. I see that in my business with fire alarms. If you touch the wrong wires, they weld to the screw. That's just the way it is. So the free enterprise market, the companies out there, the innovators out there are starting to see all of these problems, these expensive things that will need to get fixed. And potentially now loss of life. Because believe me, if that charger can fuse to a truck, oh, that's not good. That's not good if it comes in contact with the human body. And these systems will start to wear out. It may work great right now, but 10 years down the line, that charger could be basically a dirty bomb. There should be something right there, but it's not there. So we're going to move on. Turkey had a ginormous earthquake, which is kind of understating it, but when I clipped this, it was the death toll was at 21,000. And this is one of the problems that I see with the electrification of everything in America. It leaves us no backup. It leaves us no critical system to survive on. Gasoline engines can constantly be refueled, providing electricity. Gas generators can be constantly refueled. In the middle of winter, if you have a snowstorm and everything's taken out, you might have to survive off the gas in your car. Maybe the natural gas in your house. Maybe you don't have electricity. Maybe you don't have water and you got to boil it. At least you got a gas stove. These people were just wiped out. And our government really has no plan for that. There's not much you can do. I'm not saying they should have that, but what I'm saying is we can't put all of our eggs in one basket. Once the infrastructure starts to break down, we need to have fuel sources that are easy to move around, such as gasoline. But you can't move electricity. Nobody's carrying a battery from a gas station and plugging it into your car. That ain't going to happen. But it's tragic what happened there. This is what I was mentioning at the beginning. So Leah Thomas, we all know, trans female swimmer. Fine, that's great. I don't mind. Okay, they're going to compete, great. But why is it that they were allowed to use the women's locker room and expose himself? Because again, we're not focusing on protecting women's rights. We're focusing on protecting transgender rights. And they collide. And instead of using common sense and saying, hey, we need to mitigate this situation so that our girls aren't exposed to this or left to feel uncomfortable or kicked out of their own locker room. There are solutions to things like this. But unfortunately, when the solutions are promoted, they're relabeled as anti-something, and they're not. They're pro-woman. And we need to remember that. We need to appease the larger of that group. I'm sorry, but that's common sense. That's logic. One person's rights shouldn't trump 100 people's rights. It's supposed to not be that way. It's supposed to be you have the right to blank as long as it doesn't affect others. This one was just tragic. In New Jersey, this poor girl was beaten on video and, mocked and all of that. And Adriana, at 14, took her own life. That hits close to home. I was bullied. I had my struggles. And at 50 plus years, I could say one thing. The struggles that I endured, that people in my family have endured, they made us stronger. And that's the way through the darkness. The light is strength. And you got to keep moving to the light. I can't fault anybody who doesn't make it. It's a tough road. My heart breaks for her family. My heart breaks for her, what she must have been feeling. And all I can say is when that feeling hits you, just realize that when you make it through, you will be stronger, and you will be able to call on that strength throughout your life. I can't say it gets better, but I can say you will get stronger. Peace and my deepest sympathies to their families and to any family that has ever had to endure this. We should be focused on our young people's mental health. We, as adults, owe it to them to put out our hand and help and assist and listen and not just read quotes out of a book. It's a tragedy. It's something that should never happen. Well, how we segue out of that last bit, I don't know, but we're just going to do it with Baldy here. Mayorkas. The problem is that they're just lying about it, and they're not doing anything about it. And for the most part, people are buying the sham that everything's okay, and it's not. I don't care what side is fucking it up. I care that it's being fucked up. And the U.S. retaliates for Chinese spy balloon by releasing spy inflatable flailing arm tube man. Scared child asks mother to check on her bed for Madonna. Yeah, you know, Madonna, I've been a fan of yours since you were a singer in a movie called Vision Quest. But I've lost a lot of respect for you because you're blaming this on ageism and misogyny. Excuse me. Just like a typical screaming mad lefty. You're blaming your decisions on other people. Saying, oh, this is because men should blow up bullshit. Helen Mirren, Elizabeth Hurley. There, boom. Just age gracefully. You're not fighting ageism by overdoing the plastic surgery. And as far as the hairstyle, I don't know what the fuck you were thinking. To cover rising costs, Hunter now charging 15% for the big guy. And we should not be tolerating that at all, folks. But anyhow, some of y'all love him so much. U.S. shoots down spy balloon as it was getting too close to Ukraine. Oh, that's the fucking burn of the week right there. But, you know, that's the B for you. Watch this. Math, white supremacy. Black on black crime, white supremacy. 5 black cops beat and kill a black man, white supremacy. Pepperoni pizza, white supremacy. It's all about framing the narrative, folks. That's what they do. They don't have a leg to stand on. They don't have a plan that will work. They really don't seem to have very many actual good ideas. They have ideas that sound good and make you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. But when it's all done, what it really is just a salad made out of fucking thistles. And they say, oh yeah, but it's good for you. Framing the narrative. Is that really what we expect out of our leaders? You know, like this State of the Union or any other political speech, we've learned that the rule is you craft the narrative. And most people don't question it. They just go along with it. You know, the way things are framed. Instead of protecting female athletes, it's anti-trans, right? Instead of removing sex talk from kindergarten, first grade, things like that, it's the don't say gay. See, they frame it. Hunter's laptop. Both sides do it. Gay is a sin? Oh, okay. That's one way of putting it. You know, abortion is an affront to God. But if you don't believe in God, then who are you affronting? Right now, it's really sexy to be a Democrat. It's the hot thing, like, you know, Bitcoin, NFTs, or Beanie Babies. But like Pogs before that, it falls apart. It doesn't stand the test of time. If the Republicans ever want to win, they need to drop the Bible and remember that they're supposed to be the conservative approach to government, the conservative investment like gold, oil, lumber, steel. Those are conservative things. Those are things we are going to be using for decades, whether you like it or not. We are. Plastics, things like that. Things that don't sound sexy, but they work in a practical manner. And if we don't get back to operating in a practical manner, we are doomed. Maybe not in my lifetime, maybe not in your lifetime, but very close, very, very close on the whole circle of time. We're getting close to that point. We're losing our national identity. We're losing our ability to project power around the world. We are being eaten alive from the inside. And the worst part is most of us are paying some amount of money to intake this bullshit that is being spread across this nation from both sides. We need to end it. We need to get back to common sense. We need to get back to America. And that requires us getting back to the center. I'm Kid Copious. I live in the center. I'm Purple State, and so are you. Peace, y'all. Love one another. And dance it out.